with Abe Baldonado.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Chili Wire. We are in the midst of our legislative session for 2026. And with me today, I have my good friend, Representative Rod Montoya of Farmington, New Mexico. Representative, welcome back to the Chili Wire.
Well, thanks for having me back. I thought after the last time that you just call it quits and say we've had enough of that guy.
No, we're over 20 episodes in, so we're glad to bring you back. And we're in the middle of a pretty contentious legislative session. It's the governor's legacy session is what I'm titling it because after hearing her state of the state and also her proclamation, some of the messages she sent over to you all in the House of Representatives and the Senate, it appears she's trying to save her image and her legacy because of failed policies that she implemented over the last 7 years. But some of these are going to be very consequential for our state moving forward, Representative. And I just want to open it up to you. What are the things that you're looking out for this session? And then I'm pretty sure we can dive into some pretty heavy conversation on some of those issues because I'm sure a lot of them are pushing back against some of the governor's agenda.
Well, first off, the governor did make it pretty clear. She actually said legacy during her speech, I think twice. And so she is obviously worried about how she's going to be remembered. That being said, she is kind of handling that two ways. One is trying to redefine the history of her tenure. All of a sudden, somehow our schools are like the best in the nation and child welfare is the best in the nation. And that can be easily through third-party organizations. That proof is not there.
Right. Wallet Hub. I mean,
yeah, Wallet Hub has us
in the nation
worst
for childhood well-being and to raise a child and last in education.
Not to mention the crime across New Mexico, which we know that when there's out of control crime, children are dependent on adults to take care of them.
Yes.
And Albuquerque alone, I believe last year was ranked as the 20th most dangerous city in the world, not in the country.
That's there with Colombia, the Middle East. I mean, we are talking about, nations that suffer from terrorism and genocide.
Yeah.
Albuquerque is right there amongst them.
Yes. And so by any metrics that we want to use, just look at children in government custody and CYFD custody, how dangerous it is for them within government. So one way that the governor was trying to help her legacy was to redefine the last 7 years. And then the last thing she is doing is, and I hope this part is accurate, if there's any level of hope that I have, it's in the fact that the governor is trying to fix some things that her and Democrats broke over the last 7 years. One is medical malpractice. Mm-hmm. She is, at this point, after getting paid off by her and Democrats in legislature getting paid off by trial lawyers, now is seeing that now I think there was a poll out there that 70% of doctors are actually looking elsewhere. 70% of New Mexico doctors are trying to see, okay, if I move, can I sell my home? And I know this as well because I'm a realtor, but they're looking to see, okay, what if I sell my home, sell my business, and that's one of the reasons that we are not losing some of these doctors is they're trying to sell to a doctor to come here.
Yeah.
And other doctors are not seeing New Mexico as friendly. So fixing medical malpractice is just a necessity at this point. And the governor, I think, has realized that. I don't know that all of the legislators, I don't know that all the Democrat legislators have agreed to that. I know that in the Senate, we have all kinds of trial lawyers, and this is going to have to get through Senate Judiciary. I don't know that Senator Cervantes lets this see the light of day.
Right.
We've tried to do this in the past, and frankly, he's done everything he can to obstruct. He's made millions of dollars in New Mexico, and it's pretty easy if you're a lawyer to make money in New Mexico because you get to pick your friendly venue. You don't have to take people to court where the offense or alleged offense was committed, you can take them to Santa Fe, where they give massive awards.
Mhm.
You can take them to Las Vegas, once again, where they give crazy awards. People forget New Mexico is the place where the lady ordered coffee at McDonald's, spilled it on
Yeah,
herself.
won $1 million.
And yes, this is a crazy, litigious state, and we have just an outrageous number of lawyers who are gaming the system from within the legislature.
Yeah, I mean, you see it up and down I-25, I-40, billboard after billboard is a trial attorney.
Yep. So my wife and I, about less than a month ago, or maybe a month ago, went to Las Vegas to watch a Broncos game. Go Broncos. And while we were there, I did not realize that a lot of these billboards that you see down I-25 that are advertising for these lawyers, they're actually from Las Vegas. They're from Nevada, but it's too profitable for them to ignore New Mexico. So they have offices here. They are putting businesses out of business all across New Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, local attorneys who went in it to serve for their community should be frustrated by outside law firms coming and taking over New Mexico. You know, I would much rather have a trial attorney who is from New Mexico, knows New Mexico, and has New Mexico's best interest, but you're putting those folks out of business. I mean, the folks that we see suing aren't from New Mexico. They're the Keller and Kellers, the Law Giants, you know, Glasheen Baez and Enderman is another one. They are not New Mexicans. They don't have New Mexicans' best interests at heart. Although they try to say they do, they really don't. They just see, hey, this is a friendly state for us to make a lot of money, bankrupt our rural hospitals, and bankrupt our local physicians.
And our trucking companies. I've seen just down I-25 a number of ads to, if you get hit by a truck, get a hold of us. We get the biggest awards.
Yeah.
And by the way, I would love to see us put a limit on what the trial attorneys could make on these massive...
Which they should, because the conversation is not about how much money they take from victims. Victims don't see 100%.
That's right.
And again, so what's the price tag on someone's injuries and trauma? And for the trial attorneys, it's just more.
Yep. And if it's an out-of-state trial attorney, they have no connection to local business. They don't care if they put somebody out of business.
They don't have to go drink coffee at the local cafe and get a little bit of pushback about, hey, you took advantage of my abuelita. She only got 50% of her claim because you took the rest.
Yeah. But that's what they do. We will take care of all of the expenses on the front end, and then we will split whatever that split is. So it's unfortunate for any other business in New Mexico other than lawyers that you are trying to struggle to stay alive, and one unfortunate incident that takes place that you may have had nothing to do with, you could lose your life savings because of an aggressive attorney that only sees New Mexico as a cash cow.
Right.
That's one thing I'm looking at is this medical malpractice, but it doesn't fix what trial attorneys are doing to every other business in New Mexico. That's one item that I'm looking at. The other thing that I'm looking at that the governor has mentioned that she wants to address this year is the juvenile crime. But the bill that was introduced that the governor sponsored tries to move the age from 15 down to 14 to hold some of these minors accountable for their. I mean, if your child or someone is murdered by a 15-year-old or a 35-year-old, that doesn't matter to the victim or the victim's family.
Right.
But in the Senate, they've introduced the same bill, and they've actually increased the age to 16.
Wow.
To make it worse. So we have juveniles that know they can literally get away with murder. Last year, if you remember right, they even tried to say if you got in trouble for a capital crime or major felony, they wanted to provide them a scholarship once they got out of jail. There were more benefits to that than being a good student and then just trying to get the lottery scholarship or the governor's opportunity
It was
scholarship.
very much like universal income. Like, we're going to take care of you until you're on your feet.
Yes.
And then I remember you coined the phrase homicide scholarships, and that was something that took off like wildfire. Folks were like, "Oh, that's right." But yeah, $2,500 to someone who took a life of a victim's family, and they're getting rewarded for it through resources and
Yeah.
money. I mean,
This was for living expenses. It could
Yeah.
have gone towards utilities. When everybody else across New Mexico with energy policy, their utility rates are going up, and now that we have from a national standpoint, with some of the things the Trump administration has done, is actually bringing the cost of energy down, and gasoline in particular. It's coming down, but they're looking to do some things. And I'm hoping to talk about that a little bit. Mimi Stewart's Clean Horizon bill, also the Green Amendment, which would allow anybody to sue it gave everybody the standing to go to court and sue any business that they said was a polluter.
Yeah, and this was also very similar to the malpractice issue, trial attorney friendly, because it also didn't limit it to venue. So you could sue in Albuquerque or Santa Fe. Santa Fe would be willing to, oh yeah, you were affected by oil and gas when you passed through Hobbs or Farmington, and yeah, we're going to let you sue these oil companies. And
what we really need is a frivolous lawsuit law that would allow us to sue trial attorneys for just trying to get their own version of the New Mexico lottery by suing a business in New Mexico, and there's no consequences for them. In the meantime, even if you are able to survive the lawsuit, you've had to spend a bunch of money just to defend yourself.
Right.
Or in many instances, you have businesses saying, I'm just going to go ahead and pay out a settlement instead of going to court because I can't afford a multi-million-dollar lawsuit plus take my time away from business and all of that. So they just settle for a lesser amount because it is so weighted against them, and they're just trying to survive. Yeah. And once again, we want to be able to allow reasonable lawsuits to go forward to protect consumers, to protect individuals who are truly harmed. But the awards that are being given in New Mexico, they're not giving them anywhere else in the country.
They don't have to be clear and convincing. A lot of other states require clear and convincing language in order to file suit. So you have to prove that a doctor acted with malicious intent to harm that victim. And here it's used as a leverage tool of, we're going to take everything you have, your personal assets, your home, your child's college fund. We will go after everything. And they kind of
it's one of the reasons we don't have specialists, doctors who are specialists, because the highest rate of folks being sued are obstetricians and gynecologists, and of course anybody who is a specialist like a cardiologist. They're getting sued like crazy. It's one of the reasons why the cost is what it is on the front end, is because they have to be. Once we pass this increase to malpractice lawsuits, doctors' ability, many of them, their ability to even be able to get covered went away. So we saw across New Mexico, OBGYNs, many of them just going under the umbrella of a hospital. Now, these are guys who wanted to be entrepreneurs, have their private business, but they were forced under the malpractice insurance umbrella of a hospital that then can maybe afford a little bit better. But they couldn't even purchase malpractice
insurance. And their premiums, those of them that were, skyrocketed. I recall reading about an OBGYN here in New Mexico who saw her premium rise over $100,000. Even that puts her in a tough position of, is it worth it for me to practice here for a premium that's that high when I can move to another state and pay less and,
and make more.
and make more?
See, the other side
Yeah.
of this too
Yeah.
is the amount that they can get through Medicaid is so much less than they can get through private insurance.
Right.
And so with New Mexico Democrats trying to force as many people as possible onto Medicaid,
And
it
nearly
means a
half our
reduced rate.
state. Nearly
Yeah.
half our state.
Yes. Well, and if you remember, a couple years ago, they were trying to push Medicaid for all.
Yeah.
They believe in universal health care, which just by its nature is inefficient. Anything that government gets involved with, it's not as efficient as private.
Well, and you
And
don't
then-
get the best of the best either.
Exactly. And why would you? Why would you come and practice in New Mexico when you can go somewhere else, not have the fear of being sued out of business, and be able to make a better living? And then just our tax structure for any person who is making a decent wage is punitive as well. So why would you stay in New Mexico?
Yeah, absolutely. And in Senate Judiciary, they fast tracked Senate Bill 1, which is the medical licensure compact. Great step. Senator Townsend, though, had a great question and asked the sponsor of the bill and the expert witnesses, is this the silver bullet to solve medical malpractice?
No.
And it wasn't, because the real issue is punitive damages.
Yes.
And so, yes, it's great that, doctors from New Mexicans can see doctors from other states. That's great, but we're still losing the doctors. That's not enough to keep them here.
Yeah.
So yeah, your doctor may shut down their practice, move to Texas, but now the only way you can communicate with them is through telehealth. And now you have to travel to another state. If you need a procedure, you're going to have to go to that state to see them. Unfortunately, many New Mexicans don't have those resources to do so. It is not, it is a privilege to, fly yourself out to MD Anderson or Mayo Clinic. And, there are people who are fortunate enough, but we have to understand that in our state, there's many people who are not fortunate enough to advocate for themselves and take themselves to a state that has better health care.
Well, if you're like me, living in Farmington, you have a specialist moves across the border into Durango. That's a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
We'll go there rather than be forced into UNM. I had my first experience with UNM recently, and I tell you what, if that's what socialized healthcare is going to look like, pushing all these people into one line, and the hours and hours you have to wait just to even get in to go wherever you were going.
Yeah.
Rather than just going to your doctor, waiting 30 minutes in the waiting room to then be seen by a specialist. If everybody has to go to UNM, that is just frustrating. And that also means you're traveling. Most folks in the rural area are traveling 2.5 hours or more to come in to be seen as well. Thank God for UNM that we have that. But I tell you what, if I can do the same thing and go to Durango and drive 45 minutes and go have a bite at a restaurant in Durango, and then be seen relatively quickly by a specialist, all we've done is push economic drivers to
other
bordering
states.
states.
Yeah.
So if you live in Clovis or
Lubbock.
Santa Teresa, why would you not go to Lubbock?
Yeah.
If you're down in Lee County, why would you not go to Crawford?
Yeah.
Or Midland?
Midland, yeah.
If you're in Las Cruces, why would you not just go to El Paso? Same thing on the west side of the state. You've got Tucson and Phoenix that are not that far away, or even Flagstaff.
Flagstaff, yeah, from Gallup.
So everything that we have seen up to this point from Democrats concerning medical care has just destroyed opportunity for doctors in New Mexico. And now the governor, like we said earlier, is trying to save her legacy after harming those doctors. And we've already lost so many across New Mexico to other states. This might be too little too late.
Yeah.
And New Mexico has a reputation, and trial lawyers won't be satisfied. If the governor is able to get a win here and she moves on, they'll come back and promise all of the
Deb
Democrats running.
Haaland, Sam Bregman, who's a trial attorney, he's not a district attorney like he claims to be now. Yes, he is district attorney, but he made his career as a trial defense attorney. So
That's right.
we got to make that very clear. But Rep, I'm going to take some punches here in a little bit and throw some punches. But as a New Mexican, and I think New Mexicans should be, I feel insulted when I hear a governor talk about her own legacy, and I see that sort of ego. It's about me. And I feel like when she says that, she's saying, this isn't about you, New Mexico. This is about me and what's going to tee me up for my next endeavor after governor, my legacy. I think anyone who speaks like that, I mean, there's some narcissistic undertones there of it's always been about me, not the people of New Mexico. And so now, yes, could some of these things benefit New Mexico? Perhaps. At the end of the day, it benefits her, and that's the number one priority. Well,
we've seen her be in New Mexico government before, and then when she left, how she benefited herself with some inside information, and then made millions of dollars going into healthcare.
Let's transition to Clear Horizons by Mimi Stewart. A bill that through rhetoric sounds like, oh, this is great. This is great for everyone. It's really not, because it's going to have severe fiscal impacts for our state. It's being sold as protecting our environment, which it does not do.
It does not.
It actually harms our environment. It harms our communities. It harms our business. From what I've read in that bill,
well, let's forget about business for a second. This harms job creation.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to harm people who work in industries across New Mexico. Any business that is creating carbon under this, the carbon index that they're proposing is about 40% of what the federal government uses. That standard, the threshold is 40% of that. So this encompasses so many more businesses than just oil and gas. But even though they're targeting oil and gas, which is our number one employer in New Mexico, this will target
construction. New home builders.
Yeah, well, this could hit UNM.
Yeah,
they are a user of electricity. It could get them.
Yeah, how do you run a hospital?
Right,
that big.
And they're trying to. Mimi is, what I understood, trying to exempt tribal entities,
which should really be an insult to New Mexicans across the state that you're exempting one group over another. But
also what that is going to do, if somebody wants to do business in New Mexico now, why would they not just do like the Tesla dealership in Santa Ana?
Right.
Why not just build the future data centers on the Navajo
sovereign nations?
Yes, on sovereign nations. It won't do anything to eliminate carbon footprint in New Mexico. It just means it will be a non-taxable entity as far as the state of New Mexico goes, because it'll be on tribal lands.
Yeah. And they'll benefit from the economic development of those data centers, potentially the influx of folks moving into those communities, folks being employed from the community.
But if we're going to follow that line of reasoning, that might save healthcare in New Mexico. Let's just let because the argument that they're using is they have supremacy.
Yeah.
That we can't force anything upon them because they're a tribal entity. Well, if that's the case, let's let all of our hospitals go there. Let's let all of our doctors move there. Let's allow all industry that will either leave New Mexico, let it go there. The problem is, if we do that, all we're doing is limiting taxable income to the state of New Mexico.
Right.
Money will fall. It's just like any other energy source. It will follow the path of least resistance. And I think what they were trying to do to car dealerships, I know car dealerships that were negotiating with tribes to just move their car dealerships from the municipality that they were currently located in and just go to the nearest tribal entity and do it set up there and get avoid the regulations, these punitive regulations that We just seem to do one after the other. But you mentioned Bregman earlier. Something else that the governor did not do because it was controversial. She didn't talk about fast tracking anti-federal law enforcement legislation, but she put it on the call, and we saw that it's already gone. This I can't remember. Do you remember the name of the legislation?
It's Immigrant Safety Act, and that's House Bill.
Well, you see, that's
9.
the whole thing. They will they will frame the issue a certain way. What this really is anti-federal law enforcement legislation, to the point that they want to remove the federal ICE facilities that exist in New Mexico. If they do that, it's not like the Trump administration is going to stop enforcing immigration law. They're just going to then take those jobs that currently
move somewhere else,
to Texas, to Arizona, to Colorado.
Your colleague John Block said that perfectly yesterday in committee. He said, this does nothing but harm New Mexico, because now we have a public safety issue. And now where do you send them? New Mexico. And he explained, we do have folks that go in and evaluate the facilities. They do regular checks to make sure that living conditions are adequate and, up to par. And also in Otero County, it's a $16 million loss, which is big for that county. And so he made that point. He said, we're not fixing the problem here. You're just ultimately Trump-proofing New Mexico from
It's worse than that. This is just virtue signaling. You're not stopping Trump.
Right.
Look at Minneapolis. Are they stopping Trump? No, all they're doing is putting people in harm's way. Yeah. And we are a border state. We are a literal border state, and we see the effects. All you got to do is go down Central and see the effects of a wide open border, which is that we have still today the worst fentanyl abuse of anywhere in the nation.
You'd have to be pretty naive to not believe what's happening in our own backyard, or to turn a blind eye to what we see every single day. We saw it in the mayoral election here in Albuquerque. It was like, homelessness isn't that bad. And I'm like, you're gaslighting people in Albuquerque from what they see every day when they drive through, say, 2nd Street or 4th Street or downtown.
There's over 5,000 people living on our streets in Albuquerque. And the idea that they're there just because they want to be there is not the case. We're all, out of a sense of compassion for drug users, we're allowing them to just invade neighborhoods. And I would hate to live south of Central because that's a poorer population of Albuquerque. The city of Albuquerque and Mayor Keller is perfectly happy allowing them to be a blight in that community, and dangerous for people who live in that community. And and that's why I introduced a bill, which is a private right of action for residents of a municipality and potentially a county, if they don't enforce their own statutes. Yeah. But they just allow that group of people to be abused and inconvenienced. And they're not even doing anything that is actually humane.
Yeah, they're disguising it as, we're being compassionate. No, it is not compassionate in New Mexico to let people live on the street. That is not
and
compassionate. And drug addicted. That is not compassionate. I mean, people in Albuquerque will tell you, and I'm sure many people in Albuquerque have dealt with this situation. You're driving 55 down the street, and someone who is under the influence of drugs walks right into the middle of the road, and you have to slam your brakes. You potentially get rear-ended. This does happen. And, you'd have to be crazy to turn a blind eye to it. And the far left progressives have done it. They've turned a blind eye. I don't know if they're naive or they're just saying, hey, you know what? It doesn't exist. It's actually not that bad. When in fact, it is. It's a real issue.
Pretty nefarious what progressives on the left have done. They've redefined compassion, and they've redefined when you're not compassionate. They will call you names.
Racist. Fascist.
Yes. Yeah. They will shame you into taking on policy that is bad for the community and bad for the victims of drugs and the cartels. I mean, look right now in Minneapolis, where they're saying the narrative is that ICE captured a 5-year-old.
Yeah, with no context.
Yes. So when the father abandons the child who the ICE was actually going after, and the child is abandoned, is ICE not supposed to pick that child up and to take that child to social services?
Right.
No. The idea that ICE was targeting a child is ridiculous. But
And
Sam Bregman going out there and his recent
letter to
his letter to ICE
yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
And that he wants to be governor.
He also has been pretty open about getting Republicans over to vote for him. I mean, a lot of people know, like, hey, look, we can have conversations on tactics, on, everything like that. But at the end of the day, let's give context to individuals. Let's not withhold information of a whole situation that has occurred and pass judgment immediately. And I think Vice President Vance yesterday did a very wonderful job to provide context into that whole situation. And as a father of a 5-year-old, I think a lot of us, had a 5-year-old been arrested, I'm sure we would all be like, whoa, what's going on here?
Right.
But the fact was they left a lot of information out of why the child was left in custody of the ICE enforcement officers. And I'm sure that these ICE officers treated that child with dignity and protection and love. I would hope that they did. And I'm sure that, again, you said, what's the
Mm-hmm.
other story had they just left that child there alone? As his father abandoned him to run away from law enforcement officers, what would the story have been? And again, that's why context is everything. And we live in a world right now where misinformation reigns supreme. A lot of people aren't informed, and we see it. Just the other day, we had the APS students walk out with staff, which I'm like, you're doing an injustice to these kids, because I can tell you, they don't know what they're protesting. They know what their teacher is telling them, or whatever adult is influencing them, saying, here, carry this picket sign, go out there and hold it up. And it says anti-fascist. Well, are you teaching these kids what fascist means? What is fascism?
No,
what
they
does
are
it look
telling,
like?
they're giving them a version of what their version, the new version of what a fascist is, which just means a conservative in their mind.
Someone who's law-abiding, believes in the rule of law,
That's
and
right.
accountability, holding people accountable for their actions. I mean, everything that we were brought up with.
Which is why I want to go after Bregman's words. In his letter, he says, no one is above the law. And he's aiming that at ICE, federal immigration law enforcement. The problem with that is that we do have a group of people who are above the law in New Mexico, and that's the migrants who came across our border and are here illegally in a state where we have told, where the government has said that New Mexico government entities cannot cooperate with federal law enforcement. What we've done is we put a roadblock to going after the worst of the worst. Those who have actually committed crimes are in our legal system. And we have said, well, we're not even going to share that information with federal law enforcement. Well, then you have law enforcement come in and throwing a wider net, which is just immigrant or migrant. I have a hard time with the term when they say undocumented immigrants. First off, an immigrant migrates. They're coming to be a part of. Mm-hmm. It is illegal. It's an illegal activity. And they're migrating, but they're not immigrating. They're not wanting to. What we're seeing is a group of folks that are coming here and then are living in clusters to themselves, self-segregating, rather than immigrating and wanting to become and take on our values and assimilate into American society. Those who are coming here and going through immigration process and going through classes to learn how to be or to learn what an American is and why this country came into being and how, that's different than folks that just cross the border out of opportunity. And as we've seen, opportunity could be both something that contributes to society or something that is negative to society, such as the cartels, such as the human traffickers, such as the gun traffickers.
And they know this.
Yes.
They know this.
This opportunity exists for them just as well as the one who wants to become law-abiding.
They hide behind the folks who are trying to come here for the right reasons, for the American dream, for opportunity to create opportunity for future generations of their lineage to, go far beyond what they could ever imagine and live in a country where, you know what? We don't have cartels hunting people down, trying to recruit your kids. I mean, that is something that happens in these other countries. And if you don't play ball, these cartels will kill you. So
it's a little bit easier for us in New Mexico to maybe say, okay, let's take a step back from the New Mexico situation because we're talking about a common heritage or common ancestry or common racial identity. Let's focus on Minnesota for just a second, because you've got a group of people that are Somali that are there, and they've done something different. Unlike the cartels here, they've done something different. They're gaming the social welfare programs.
Yeah.
They're gaming the child care, unbridled child care, which is what Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is talking about here. As a matter of fact, one of the things she may be doing when she leaves office is open a series of Somali daycare centers or leering centers across New Mexico. I'm not exactly sure what her next step is, but that's what happened in Minneapolis was a group of migrants who then game the system. Yeah. And federal immigration goes in and says, this is out of control. We're going to go in there and do that. And then you have the Democrat governor and Democrat legislators and Democrat mayors go in and say, oh, this is horrible what's happening to ISIS coming in like Nazis and trying to just go after a certain population because President Trump is racist. That's the narrative. Mm-hmm. Not that there are people doing illegal things and we want to help them get the folks who are doing illegal things in America and they have no real connection to America. The narrative there is maybe a little bit easier for New Mexicans to look at because we do have a common heritage with folks that live across the southern border and some who live in South America. It's a little different because they share a language with many New Mexicans. They share a heritage that we hold dear, hold food and culture that is similar. It is nonetheless, when there is illegal activity going on and progressive Democrats in New Mexico want to protect those folks who are doing illegal things and then gaslighting the people who think, first off, I don't want to have to pay for people who came here, just a group of a certain percentage that just came here just to live off of the generosity of the American people. Or they're coming here and doing a cartel-like money laundering businesses. We hear about all these tire shops in the South Valley or on the West Side. That's just one type of a money laundering system to be able to do the drug trafficking, human trafficking, gun trafficking, all this illegal activity, and then funnel the money through a quote unquote legal business.
Yeah. And I go back to naivety because you have to be very naive to believe that this corruption doesn't exist, because it does. And there are leaders who will try to tell you that it doesn't, that it's exaggerated. It's happening. And human trafficking is real. Yeah. The immigrants coming to this country, they are trying to escape the very people who are sneaking in with them and causing problems here in the United States. That is what they are running from. Whether you're coming from Colombia, Chile, Venezuela, Guatemala, Mexico, you are leaving because your own people are exploiting you. And we
Yeah.
see it here. I mean, the countless stories of human trafficking here in New Mexico where they're kidnapping their own people who are trying to come over to the United States. They kidnap them and hold them for ransom. And these are their own people.
Right.
And
So-
again, it's just...
And the gaslighting that's going on by saying that it's just because of racism. I'm a Hispanic. The communities that are most affected by crime are Hispanic communities,
Mhm.
because that is where the majority of these operations pop up, is in the international zone. But in particular, we're talking about the South Valley and then all the way down to Las Cruces. The people who are paying the highest price are Hispanic communities. So it really offends me when I see the folks that are going out there saying, ICE is racist, ICE is racist, ICE is racist. And the majority of them are suburban white women or white, elderly, affluent progressives.
Yeah.
And they're saying racist, racist, racist. No, you can afford to hold on to that luxury, high-mindedness, and you're forcing it on the minority population in particular.
Yeah.
And that is, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, that's extremely racist.
Yeah.
When the Venezuelans that are out there thrilled that Venezuela has been liberated, and they're going after President Trump in some way that this is a racist act against a...
Which is not unfamiliar. We did it with Noriega before.
But we sent in troops and it took months.
Yeah.
This was a 30-minute excursion.
Yeah.
And not a single American troop member was harmed.
And Representative, I'm familiar. You've combated these narratives yourself, even in the House of Representatives. Your wonderful wife is of the Navajo Nation, and you have fought hard to say, no, my wife is Navajo. I'm not against Navajo. And again, you've had to counter some of those claims as well, and you've had to make it very clear, like, I'm Hispanic. My wife's Navajo.
I worked on the Navajo reservation for over 20 years. And when progressives from Santa Fe and Albuquerque decided to shut down that power plant down there because it was harming Navajo people
out of jobs,
the people they put out of work, 85% of the workers were Navajo. And those were high-paying jobs. And now what we've seen is in the Central Consolidated School District is child homelessness is through the roof.
And because why? The child had to go work because their parents are struggling to find work. So they're having to pick up a job and...
Well, they've been abandoned, many of them.
Oh, wow.
They've been abandoned or left to relatives here while the parents have had to go find work elsewhere. And all done in the name of compassion. Progressive liberals
or empathy.
Quit being compassionate to us. You are killing us with your kindness.
Yeah. Or empathy. They like to throw the word empathy around.
You know what? I heard something recently, and there's a book out there called Toxic Empathy, and it's written by I cannot remember her name right now, but she combats this idea of toxic masculinity, where all masculinity is the problem, and the replacement for it is empathy. Empathy that she is claiming is toxic is that empathy that looks at one side and not the other, looks at the criminal who maybe had a rough childhood growing up and then is caught up into some sort of cycle of criminal behavior, maybe based on some socioeconomic issues as well, or a abusive household, or a growing up in foster care or some sort of institution. And then they do something. Well, you have to have empathy on them, but it completely removes empathy from the victim. This is what allows these suburban white women in particular to go out there and say, oh, look at these poor transgender kids. In the meantime, every female who is trying to compete or just wants to have a private space to get on. I tell you what, most men and women, boys and girls, don't like getting undressed in front of each other or having others undress in front of them. It's uncomfortable as it is. But then now we're placing men in these women's spaces because of this empathy, and we have no empathy for the majority that is having to endure being exposed to the opposite sex way before consent went out the window. This is a group of people that says that you shouldn't have eye contact with the opposite sex if you're a man for more than 5 seconds because it's uncomfortable. However, I could at any point say, hey, you know what, I identify as this, and I can go into a woman's locker room and get completely undressed in front of them. And somehow it is the bigotry of these cisgender, to use their language, females who then are making that poor transgender person feel bad. We have turned logic on its head. We have turned our language on its head. We have turned biology. I don't even understand why I even teach biology anymore. That is
it's even
waste of
undermined
science.
the feminist movement. At the end of the day, if you identify as a feminist, you should be very upset about what's happening right now.
Well, empathy is destroying our country. This toxic empathy is destroyed. Please go find the book. It's worth a read.
Absolutely. Representative, we'll get to wrapping up here. Are there any other things that you would like our viewers to be aware of as we navigate this 30-day legislative session? Seems like it's going to be fast and furious over the next couple of weeks. 30 days oftentimes feel like a 60-day session compressed into 4 weeks. However, are there ways that you would like to share with our viewers of how they can get engaged, how they can provide input, and how they can hold their elected leaders accountable?
Well, first off, if you see a bill and it has this very nice title to it, question it right away. The Affordable Care Act increased everybody's insurance rates by almost 50% in about a 4-year period of time. The Energy Transition Act did this exact same thing to your utility rates. Anybody who is paying double what they were paying just 4 years ago for their utility rates needs to understand that is not because utility companies are greedy. It's because we have forced them into unaffordable sources of energy. Whenever you hear now Clean Horizons Act or the Immigrant Safety Act, virtually anytime you hear the title, it is to misinform you and maybe make you people who are not really paying attention to what's going on just take the title and say, oh yes, I
could get behind that.
Yes, I can get behind that. Protecting immigrants. We need to protect immigrants. We want to protect immigrants. Let's secure the border and quit allowing the
same folks that they're running away from to enter the United States.
Yes. Those folks many of them are coming over here into homes and then being sex trafficked. The millions of children that came over, unaccompanied minors, that we don't know where many of them are being sex trafficked. And the idea that we're going to stop ICE from going out there and putting these sex traffickers in jail and saving those children, which, by the way, when ICE then collects them, are they arresting those children? No, they're not. They're protecting those children. If you hear a very favorable explanation just in the title of legislation, question it. Go read the legislation. That's the first thing. Second of all, this is a 30-day session. Myself and others, I know you'll be doing it, the Family Action Movement, Jody Hendricks will be doing this. Americans for Prosperity will be doing this. Other groups will be going out there and trying to educate you quickly in real time about what's going on in the session. Please pay attention. I will be giving a bunch of updates. So Rod Montoya, if you want to go and look me up on Facebook in particular, I'll be trying to give updates, trying to explain what the legislation means, not just what the title says. Pay attention. Every time we turn around, right now, in the name of public safety, they're talking about taking away semi-automatic guns.
And
These are not automatic guns.
On
A
that
hunting
note-
rifle is a semi-automatic gun.
And on that note, that bill also goes after gun dealers as the problem for crime rather than the actual criminals themselves. I will tell you, if you're a juvenile and you get your hands on a weapon, the gun dealer isn't selling it to this juvenile most of the time.
Right.
A lot of the weapons being used on the streets by criminals are through the black market. They're not even registered guns that were authorized by a dealer. Some maybe, but again,
But if I, a law-abiding citizen who values life, owns a gun, taking away my rights doesn't make you safer.
Right. Exactly. You're making our streets more unsafe, and you're now restricting folks from the opportunities to protect themselves.
Well,
against
look at how undermanned all law enforcement is across the state.
Well, they're
if
tired.
all I can do is call 911, really all you need to do is send a mortician to come and collect the body instead of allowing me to be able to defend myself and my family.
Well, on that note, Rep, we know that goes back and circles back straight to the trial lawyers who pushed the Civil Rights Act of New Mexico, which really stripped away qualified immunity for police officers. So now police officers really can't even do their jobs without the fear of being sued for their personal assets when they're in the line of duty, having to make a life and death situation decision. Our police officers they're tired. They're short staffed. They're working long hours, and God bless them.
Well, and we have looked at those who are in law enforcement as the problem. That's what they're doing now with ICE. ICE is not out there going out and picking up Hispanics on the street. That is ridiculous. I have no fear of an ICE agent coming after me or a member of my family.
Well, like my grandma used to always say, if someone got in trouble, she would say, "What did they do?"
Law enforcement is there to protect law-abiding citizens. And in New Mexico, the majority of them are minorities. So allow law enforcement to do their job to protect us. Yeah. But it's criminal. It is downright criminal for a district attorney of Bernalillo County to say no one is above the law.
And to say that you're violating state law. No. They're the federal government supremacy clause. Come on, Sam Brigman. You studied history. You studied government and economics. You should know about the supremacy clause, that federal law reigns supreme, the supreme law of the land.
That's right. And I'm looking to see what happens now, February 1st. President Trump has said, if you are a sanctuary city or you're a sanctuary state and you are harboring and protecting those who are breaking the law, which we are doing in New Mexico and we are doing in our major cities across New Mexico, that February 1st, federal funding is going to be cut off. We're playing chicken with somebody who we know very well you should not be tempting President Trump when it comes to this. And in reality, we should be cooperating. The law-abiding citizens in New Mexico want our laws to be followed.
Period.
If I, as a law-abiding citizen, break the law, I fully expect for law enforcement to come after me.
There's consequences.
Yes.
There's consequences.
Well, there should be. And then if there are not consequences for breaking the law, what we're going to have is more of this. We're going to have more of putting toothpaste behind bars in Target rather than putting criminals behind bars for stealing from Target.
Well, and now you can't even get a deodorant stick without having to ring a bell and have someone open it for you. And that's just the world that we live in. And
it has become our reality that we've become accustomed to.
Which we shouldn't.
Why are we accepting this? Why is this a reality we're accepting? Quit being gaslit by progressive Democrats who want to make you feel bad for just wanting to have safe communities.
Absolutely. Well, Representative, thank you so much. As always on the Chili Wire, thank you for the dialogue. Thank you for the conversation and insight to what you're seeing in Santa Fe, what you're advocating for. And just want to tell you, we appreciate your service to the great state of New Mexico. And God bless you for the next 3 weeks as you all navigate New Mexico's future and policies that impact every New Mexican every single day. So, Representative, thank you so much again for coming on the Chili Wire. Thank you for being a voice in Santa Fe, and we hope to have you on again.
Thank you.
My pleasure. That's it this week for the Chili Wire, y'all. We'll see you next time.